I haven't done automation in a while, so I saw three articles that kind of go together in the same vein that don't necessarily talk about you losing your job or losing jobs per se, but making jobs either tougher or depressing wage jobs. In other words, making the job simpler to where skilled workers or skilled jobs that require skilled workers are less so. So I'm going to read these three on the other side. McDonald's workers quitting in droves over complicated technology and new menu items. Employees are handling more tasks in many cases, they say, without pay raises or adequate staffing, and they're getting fed up. For Dudley Dickerson, the mobile app orders were the last straw. McDonald's Corporation has been updating with new technology, delivery, and a revamped menu and curbside pickup, but the chain's experienced a future effort could backfire. Employees are handling more tasks, in many cases, they say, without or adequate staffing. So Dickerson, 23, handed over his spatula for the last time. They added a lot of complicated things, Dickerson said in an interview. It makes it harder for the workers. Sure, lots of fast food employees hop from job to job, but with unemployment so low, turnover is becoming a problem. Workers are walking rather than dealing with new technologies and menu options. The result, customers wait longer. Already, drive-through times at McDonald's slowed to 239 seconds last year, more than 30 seconds slower than in 2016, according to QSR magazine. It's also pokier than Burger King, Wendy's, and Taco Bell. 150% turnover. Turnover at U.S. fast food restaurants jumped to 150%, meaning a store employing 20 workers would go through 30 in 1 year. That figure is the highest since industry tracker People Report began collecting data in 1995. Quick service restaurants have a little more trouble with job openings and finding workers, said Michael Harms, executive director of operations at People Report. It's the pace of work, the pace of technology, and the lower wage rate. McDonald's and its franchisees haven't seen an increase in crew turnover the last year, nor is there a correlation between the new initiatives and turnover, spokeswoman Terry Hickley said in an emailed statement. Together with our owner-operators, we're investing in all necessary training to ensure a successful implementation of any changes in our restaurants, she wrote. Just as Experience of the Future modernizes the restaurant experience for our customers, there is also a focus on improving the work experience for restaurant employees. The newest initiatives. McDonald's Chief Executive Officer Steve Easterbrook has been pushing initiatives that have helped turn around comparable sales, which rose 3.6% last year in the U.S., but they've also made it tougher to retain restaurant employees in an already tight labor market. The ball is really in the court of the workers, Harms said, not the employers. Last year, McDonald's said it employed 235,000 people, including corporate and restaurant workers. Each of those people generated $97,000 per year in revenue, compared to about $65,000 the year before. While this could be a sign of increased efficiency, it can just as well be seen as stretching thin and an inadequate number of employees. In Broward County, Florida, Wesley Williams said he's switching to a job at burger joint Checkers after being stretched too thin at McDonald's. Williams, 42, says he's quitting because of the chaos caused by mobile app orders, new items, and 6 recently added self-order kiosks. It's more stressful now, said Williams, who added that he didn't get a raise for doing more work. When we mess up a little bit because we're getting used to something new, we get yelled at. On a recent Wednesday afternoon, about 10 McDonald's workers hustled behind the counter of a store in Chicago's Loop. They called out order numbers for those waiting for lunch. Some had ordered via in-store kiosks, some from the mobile app, and some the old-fashioned way at the register. An order of a bacon McDouble, small fries, and an apple juice took about 2.5 minutes, faster than the average drive-through time, but the drink was missing, and the employee seemed confused when asked for it. The biggest risk when you have a lot of employee turnover is the customer experience, said Brian Yarborough, an analyst for Edward Jones. If that starts to wane, then this turns into a bigger problem. At another restaurant in Chicago the same day, McDonald's staff rushed to keep up with the dinner crowd. Cars lined up at the drive-thru, and curbside pickup spots were full. A mobile app order for fries, Egg McMuffin, and McFlurry for curbside pickup took just over 5 minutes. Missing from the bag, ketchup for the fries. And that is from Bloomberg. Automation could be used to abuse staff, trade unions warn. STUC General Secretary Graham Smith has warned that new technology could lead to cost-cutting and the abuse of workers through surveillance. His comments came as a study on the use of automation was published by the STUC and the Scottish government. But the report said there could be positive as well as negative impacts, workers to have a greater say on how technology is used. It will be discussed by the Scottish Trades Union Congress in Avonmore. A number of motions have been put forward on the issue for this week's gathering of the trade union movement. Mr. Smith said, in all cases, workers must be involved in how automation is introduced, shaping or controlling their own workplaces through collective trade union involvement. Otherwise, we are likely to see automation pursued at the cost-cutting, profit-driven measure implemented without proper training or controls, or used to abuse staff with inappropriate targets or high levels of surveillance. The report says there was nothing remarkable about the replacement of workers by new technologies. It argued that automation is transforming for good or bad the way the workplace is experienced. It said that evidence does not support the view that automation and digitization will lead to the catastrophic net loss of jobs predicted by some researchers, but that it is likely that some occupations and sectors will experience significant change. Mr. Smith added, automation represents a major challenge to how work is organized, but it's still unclear how it will affect the quality and type of work in the long term. Predictions swing between utopian visions of emancipation through technology and dystopian views of severe inequality. The STUC and the Scottish government report cuts through this debate and to recognize both the positive and negative impacts of automation. Positive outcomes. First, Nicola Sturgeon is scheduled to address the conference later. Speaking in advance of her appearance, she said, "We share a common objective with the STUC to ensure automation and digitization have positive outcomes for all of Scotland's people. Scottish workers are already benefiting from quality job opportunities in sectors such as game development and data analytics, where we are at the forefront of technological change. The report recognizes and addresses the genuine fears that many workers have over ways in which technology might affect their working lives and the future job prospects, and highlights where Scottish government approaches to skills development and fair work can help meet the challenges of technological change." Scottish Labour leader Richard Leonard said a more interventionist approach was needed from government. New technology should be creating new employment and a new work-life balance, he said, not being used to undermine workers' rights and adding to job insecurity. In the end, it comes down to who owns and controls the implementation of automation, and so in whose interest it is shaped. Scottish Labour is prepared to intervene to plan and not to simply rely on voluntary business pledges and Adam Smith's invisible hand of the market. Here's the last one from the Telegraph. Robots will steal your wages but not your job, Barclays predicts. Robots and computers are undermining wages by simplifying jobs and turning skilled work into unskilled labor. Automation is spreading into office jobs and the service, meaning middle-class careers and professions risk being undercut in a way never seen before. It will squash pay packets severely for years or even decades to come, a new report from Barclays warned. Written by Barclays executives, researchers, economists, it said several careers have already been destroyed as routes to prosperity. Lorry truck drivers, once highly paid, physical strength combined with dexterity required to maneuver large vehicles, abilities and skills that were hard to acquire, but power steering removed the strength requirement, and rear-view cameras make reversing a juggernaut simpler. As a result, real wages have crashed. The average U.S. trucker earned $38,000 in 1980, but only $46,000 now. But to keep up with price inflation, the wage should be several multiples of this. Similarly, London's black cab drivers have to learn the knowledge, training hard to learn the capital streets in detail by memory. However, sat-navs and apps such as Uber have led to a large influx of drivers who have not had to pass this test, driving out earnings for cabbies. Industries soon to be affected include medicine, the analysts believe, with even complex tasks such as surgery becoming simpler. Surgeons already use robots widely in surgeries. Microbots can perform surgeries at microscopic levels, still under the direction of a human, that surgeons cannot manually perform. Human judgment is essential, but might become less so with the development of machine learning platforms in the medical field. With the development of machine vision, machines could also be equipped to make medical diagnosis. It could take many years before new technologies such as artificial intelligence becomes fully embedded in the economy to the extent that they boost productivity and wages once more. So far, the impact has broadly been positive, the analysts believe, citing estimates that 15.8 million jobs have been created overall by computer technology in the past 40 years, counting those both created and destroyed. Economic growth has been understated by about 0.75 percentage points per year as the digital technologies are not properly measured, they say. See, automation and technology is a two-edged sword. On the one end, it will replace workers. When the AI, self-driving cars and such start replacing workers and driving wages down, let's say, period. But also by making the job simpler. So when it makes the job simpler and eases the jobs, that means they give you more tasks. So in other words, make the automation pay off. Instead of you having a complex task that you do for 8 hours, you have 50 different tasks, such as the one at McDonald's, where automation cuts through some of the difficulty of actually doing, say, said work, but it also makes it more difficult. Just like McDonald's, when you, instead of having people at the counter taking orders and having that human interaction with the cooks behind it, the automation makes it easier to actually cook and take orders because you have all these various different devices that the orders can come on. But now you have more of them. And now they cut down on people, or they don't hire people, which is usually what happens. Instead of getting rid of jobs, they just don't hire people. And as people quit, or as people retire or get out of the workforce, they just don't replace them. So what you now see is the interim. They're not paying, like they say in McDonald's, they're not paying you enough to actually do more work, but the automation is allowing them to stretch you thin, which is something that the Scottish unions are talking about. It's going to make the job simpler, and you're going to have more tasks. It's going to change the way you work and the nature of work. So basically, they're going to have you working harder for less money. And then the last article where we talk about the AIs and these automated or advanced machine learning techniques that are actually built into certain systems, such as billing and medicine and surgeries. We're talking about high-end surgeries, but we're not talking about the billing that's going to be streamlined or the hospital procedures that are going to be streamlined. There's a lot of jobs that are going to be streamlined to the point where you're going to have to, if you're a worker, you're going to have to handle many, many more tasks. Or say if a doctor has a robot, instead of preparing for one surgery a day or maybe a couple surgeries a week, he's going to probably have to do 3 or 4 surgeries a week, or he's going to have to handle more cases because the machines and the streamlined processes are going to allow you to actually do more. So just like if they give you a map of a street and you're a truck driver, instead of you having to make, say you have to make deliveries, instead of you making, just say you have to average like 20 deliveries a day. And because of the routing system and the nav systems, you might have to make 25 deliveries a day, but they're not going to give you any more money. And if you don't like it, there are people that have less experience than you do that actually can come in and put downward pressure on your wages, which is what you're seeing, which is what they're talking about. Whereas a nurse might have made $100,000 a year because of the expert systems that you can have a nurse's aide that knows less than actually monitor or basically fiddle with some buttons on a machine and get the same thing done for what, 1/3 of her wages or half of the wages. So in other words, instead of you might have one RN at $80,000 a year, but you also will have 4 nurses aides at $20,000 a year. This is some things that it's already have been done over time, but I think it's going to be accelerated. And this is something that has been done since the Luddites started breaking looms back in the 18th century. It's just going to be on a broader scale and an accelerated time scale. But anyway, I hadn't done any automation news in the last couple of weeks. So I know you guys haven't got your fear porn mix, so I'm going to pour it on this week. So all you dark news fans, get ready. There's more coming. Anyway, I'm going to jump off of here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.